the boxing world didn't just react. It completely exploded the moment reports and training footage began circulating showing Naoya Inoue working alongside boxing legend Manny Pacquiao ahead of his highly anticipated clash with Junto Nakatani, because this wasn't viewed as a casual gym appearance, a publicity stunt, or a routine crossover moment between champions. It was instantly interpreted as a major statement of intent, a clear sign that Inoue is approaching what many already consider one of the most dangerous and defining fights of his career with an entirely different level of urgency, preparation, and mental focus. And what made the reaction even more intense was the symbolism behind the partnership itself, because Pacquiao isn't just another legendary name. He represents relentless pace, elite experience, fearlessness under pressure, and the mentality required to thrive in career-defining moments, meaning that his presence in camp immediately fueled speculation that Inoue is looking to sharpen not only his physical tools but also the mental and strategic side of his game before facing a threat as skilled and unpredictable as Nakatani. And within hours, fans across the United States and the United Kingdom were already dissecting every clip, every drill, and every interaction, turning what might have been a simple training update into a massive storyline that has dramatically amplified anticipation for a fight many believe could redefine the balance of power in the division. What instantly made this development feel so significant was the enormous symbolic weight behind Manny Pacquiao's presence in camp, because throughout boxing history, fighters preparing for career-defining moments have often surrounded themselves with elite minds, legendary champions, and battle-tested experience in an effort to gain every possible edge, and Pacquiao is far more than just another former title holder. He is widely viewed as one of the most explosive, intelligent, fearless, and respected fighters the sport has ever produced, a once-in-a-generation competitor whose understanding of pressure, timing, angles, and championship mentality was forged through some of the biggest fights boxing has ever seen, which means that the moment he stepped into camp alongside Naoya Inoue ahead of the looming showdown with Junto Nakatani, the entire perception surrounding Inoue's preparation immediately changed. Because this no longer looked like a fighter simply maintaining his usual routine. It looked like someone preparing for war with complete seriousness, searching for deeper refinement both mentally and strategically, and what made it even more compelling was the idea that Pacquiao's influence goes beyond physical instruction, as his presence alone brings an aura of intensity, confidence, and elite championship expectation that can elevate the atmosphere of a camp, turning every session into something sharper, more disciplined, and more purposeful, ultimately reinforcing the belief among fans and analysts across the United States and the United Kingdom that Inoue understands exactly how dangerous this fight could be and is leaving absolutely nothing to chance as he prepares for one of the biggest challenges of his career. Early glimpses from inside the camp revealed an atmosphere that looked intense, focused, and meticulously structured around precision, speed, and non-stop movement, with Manny Pacquiao reportedly placing heavy emphasis on rhythm changes, angle creation, and offensive unpredictability. Elements that became trademarks of his legendary career and could prove absolutely crucial for Naoya Inoue ahead of his looming clash with Junto Nakatani, because Nakatani is not the kind of opponent who can simply be overwhelmed through aggression alone. He's widely respected for his technical sharpness, distance control, timing, and ability to dictate exchanges in ways that make opponents uncomfortable and hesitant, which means that preparing to disrupt that rhythm requires a highly calculated approach rather than pure intensity, and that's exactly why Pacquiao's influence feels so significant, because the drills being shown didn't just focus on power or conditioning. They appeared designed to create unpredictability, forcing constant movement, quick adjustments, and dynamic offensive entries that could help Inoue avoid becoming static against such a disciplined fighter. And what makes this development even more fascinating is the idea that Inoue may be adding entirely new layers to an already devastating style, evolving from a destructive champion into an even more adaptable and strategically dangerous version of himself right before stepping into what many believe could become one of the defining fights of the modern era in the lighter weight divisions. Fans didn't waste any time diving into the footage coming out of camp, obsessively analyzing every clip, every drill, and even every small interaction between Naoya Inoue and Manny Pacquiao in search of clues about what changes might be taking shape ahead of the massive showdown with Junto Nakatani. And one of the biggest details people immediately picked up on was the apparent increase in movement combinations, rapid directional changes, and fluid offensive transitions. elements strongly associated with Pacquiao's prime years, when his ability to attack from unpredictable angles at explosive speed made him nearly impossible to control, and seeing those same concepts being integrated into Inoue's training instantly sparked speculation that this camp isn't just about maintaining dominance, but about evolving specifically for the unique problems Nakatani presents, because against a fighter known for controlling distance, reading timing, and staying composed under pressure, unpredictability becomes a weapon in itself, and what makes this development so intriguing is the possibility that Inoue may be reshaping parts of his style to become even harder to anticipate, adding layers of movement and rhythm disruption that could prevent Nakatani from settling into the kind of measured, technical fight he prefers, turning the build-up into something even more compelling as fans across the United States and the United Kingdom continue to debate whether this partnership with Pacquiao could unlock an entirely new version of an already terrifying champion. Fans didn't waste any time diving into the footage coming out of camp, obsessively analyzing every clip, every drill, and even every small interaction between Naoya Inoue and Manny Pacquiao in search of clues about what changes might be taking shape ahead of the massive showdown with Junto Nakatani, and one of the biggest details people immediately picked up on was the apparent increase in movement combinations, rapid directional changes, and fluid offensive transitions. Elements strongly associated with Pacquiao's prime years, when his ability to attack from unpredictable angles at explosive speed made him nearly impossible to control, and seeing those same concepts being integrated into Inoue's training instantly sparked speculation that this camp isn't just about maintaining dominance, but about evolving specifically for the unique problems Nakatani presents, because against a fighter known for controlling distance, reading timing, and staying composed under pressure, unpredictability becomes a weapon in itself, and what makes this development so intriguing is the possibility that Inoue may be reshaping parts of his style to become even harder to anticipate, adding layers of movement and rhythm disruption that could prevent Nakatani from settling into the kind of measured, technical fight he prefers, turning the build-up into something even more compelling as fans across the United States and the United Kingdom continue to debate whether this partnership with Pacquiao could unlock an entirely new version of an already terrifying champion. What makes Junto Nakatani such a compelling and genuinely dangerous threat isn't just his technical skill or physical ability, but the calm composure and adaptability he consistently displays inside the ring, because unlike many opponents who begin to unravel once pressure intensifies, Nakatani has repeatedly shown the ability to remain disciplined under difficult conditions, staying patient, making adjustments in real time, and forcing opponents to react to him rather than simply overwhelming him through aggression alone, and that quality changes everything when facing someone like Naoya Inoue, because Inoue's dominance has often come from his ability to break fighters mentally as much as physically, pushing them into mistakes through relentless pressure and explosive timing, but against a fighter who refuses to panic and can maintain structure even in chaotic exchanges, the challenge becomes far more complex, and that reality may explain exactly why Inoue's camp, especially with the influence of Manny Pacquiao, appears so heavily focused on versatility, movement, and tactical refinement, because this doesn't look like preparation for an opponent who can simply be overpowered. It looks like preparation for a strategic battle where unpredictability, adaptability, and mental sharpness could become just as important as speed and power, creating the sense that Inoue understands this may require one of the smartest and most complete performances of his entire career if he wants to maintain his dominance against a challenger many believe is uniquely equipped to test him at the highest possible level. Reports coming from inside the gym suggest that Manny Pacquiao's influence on Naoya Inoue goes far beyond physical drills or technical adjustments, extending deeply into mindset, mentality, and the psychological side of elite competition, with a major emphasis reportedly being placed on staying calm under pressure, controlling pace intelligently, and recognizing the critical difference between moments that require explosive aggression and moments that demand patience and energy conservation. And those lessons carry enormous weight because they come from decades of experience at the absolute highest level of the sport, forged through championship battles, high-pressure environments, and some of the most iconic fights in boxing history, meaning that Pacquiao isn't just sharing techniques. He's passing down an understanding of how to survive, adapt, and dominate when the stakes are at their highest, and what makes this especially significant ahead of the clash with Junto Nakatani is that Nakatani's composure and tactical discipline may force Inoue into situations where emotional control and decision-making become just as important as power and speed, turning the mental side of preparation into a potentially decisive factor, and that's why this partnership feels so impactful to fans and analysts alike, because it suggests that Inoue is preparing not just to fight harder, but to fight smarter, sharper, and with a deeper level of strategic maturity than ever before. As more footage from camp continued surfacing online, the reaction from boxing fans across the United States and the United Kingdom became increasingly intense, with every new clip fueling another wave of analysis, speculation, and debate surrounding what this partnership between Naoya Inoue and Manny Pacquiao could ultimately mean for the looming showdown with Junto Nakatani, because on one side, many fans began wondering whether this upgraded level of preparation could somehow make an already terrifying champion even more dangerous, especially if Inoue successfully integrates new elements of movement, rhythm variation, and tactical patience into his style, creating the possibility of a more complete and unpredictable version of a fighter who already dominates opponents with explosive precision, while on the other side, plenty of observers pushed back against the growing hype, arguing that Nakatani's unique skill set, his composure, timing, adaptability, and ability to stay disciplined under pressure, still presents problems that can't simply be erased through training adjustments alone, no matter how elite the camp may be, and that divide in opinion is exactly what has made the build-up feel so compelling, because instead of seeing a clear favorite, more fans are beginning to recognize the complexity of the matchup, where preparation, mentality, and tactical execution may matter just as much as natural talent and championship pedigree, turning the fight into one of the most intriguing and unpredictable events in modern boxing. Analysts quickly began diving into the stylistic implications of the partnership between Naoya Inoue and Manny Pacquiao, and one of the most fascinating ideas being discussed is the possibility that if Inoue can successfully integrate even portions of Pacquiao's trademark movement patterns, rhythm changes, and explosive tempo shifts into his own already devastating offensive style, it could elevate his unpredictability to an entirely different level, creating a version of Inoue that becomes even more difficult to study, anticipate, and prepare for on fight night, because what has always made Pacquiao so dangerous wasn't just speed or power alone, but the constant disruption of timing and angles that forced opponents into hesitation and confusion, and if those same concepts are layered onto Inoue's precision, aggression, and knockout ability, the result could be a fighter capable of attacking from positions and rhythms opponents aren't expecting, making defensive adjustments far more complicated, especially for someone like Junto Nakatani, whose style relies heavily on maintaining composure, controlling distance, and reading patterns over time, and that's exactly why the boxing world has become so fascinated by this camp, because it raises the possibility that Inoue isn't just preparing harder for this fight, he may actually be evolving in real time into an even more versatile and strategically dangerous champion than the one fans already considered nearly unstoppable. At the same time, many experienced observers caution against assuming that training with a legendary figure like Manny Pacquiao automatically guarantees victory for Naoya Inoue, because while elite guidance can absolutely sharpen technique, improve awareness, and introduce new tactical dimensions, the true test in boxing has always come under the unforgiving pressure of real competition, where preparation means nothing unless it can be executed effectively in the chaos of an actual fight. Especially against an opponent as composed and technically dangerous as Junto Nakatani, and that reality is what keeps this matchup feeling so unpredictable, because history is filled with fighters who looked unstoppable in camp only to struggle once timing, pressure, and momentum shifted under the lights, making it clear that no amount of preparation can fully simulate the mental and physical demands of championship-level combat, and while Pacquiao's influence may give Inoue new tools, sharper instincts, and greater strategic flexibility, the ultimate question remains whether those adjustments can hold up when Nakatani begins forcing reactions, disrupting rhythm, and creating difficult situations in real time, which is why so many analysts continue emphasizing that execution, not preparation alone, is what ultimately decides fights of this magnitude, especially when two elite champions are preparing to collide at the highest level of the sport. Nevertheless, the psychological impact of this partnership between Naoya Inoue and Manny Pacquiao simply cannot be ignored, because bringing a global boxing icon of Pacquiao's stature into camp sends a message that reaches far beyond technical preparation, communicating not only to fans and analysts but potentially to Junto Nakatani himself that Inoue is approaching this fight with absolute seriousness and a level of urgency that leaves nothing to chance, and in boxing, those psychological Signals can carry enormous weight, because elite fighters pay attention to every detail surrounding an opponent's preparation, every strategic adjustment, every new influence, and every indication of intent, meaning that Pacquiao's presence alone immediately changes the emotional atmosphere around the matchup, reinforcing the idea that Inoue fully recognizes the danger Nakatani presents and is responding by surrounding himself with championship-level experience, strategic insight, and one of the greatest competitive minds the sport has ever seen. And what makes this even more fascinating is that psychological warfare in boxing often begins long before the opening bell, where perception, confidence, and mental pressure slowly build throughout camp and media coverage, creating subtle advantages that can influence momentum once the fight actually starts, which is why this partnership feels so significant. Not just because of what Pacquiao may teach physically, but because of what his presence represents symbolically, turning the build-up into something that feels even bigger, more intense, and increasingly historic as anticipation continues to rise worldwide.